Hello guys and welcome back. God, my hair looks weird. Anyhow, um last night was killer. We went to the club. We got an upgrade. They upgraded that club. It is amazing. Long story short, you can get rid of all the men, and it's just you and 12 beautiful women who all just dance for you, and you gonna pay them now. It's kind of a little bit scary. It was really interesting though. Different outfits, more detail, blah blah blah. It does seem when you drop the 12 NPCs that they put a little extra love into the ladies. I've just noticed that. But that makes sense. It's like usually a game should, as far as I know, be able to handle everything at whatever level it handles it at. But it did seem when I dropped 12 pieces of dead weight that were only in my way, the women looked more beautiful. Of course. Of course they did. Anyhow, they have got new voice actresses, and they still have the phenomenon of the name will move from girl to girl to girl to girl, and the voice will too. It's like seeing a soul travel between all of these ladies, and I guess it's some kind of great cosmic lesson because one day she is a lady from the Caribbean, one day she is English, one day she's decidedly American. It's really an all-inclusive kind of transcendental club. I love it. And no more cat fights, though I did try to balance a glass of alcohol on a man's head. I forgot NPCs, you can go right through them. I put it on his head and let go of it and went phew. Then I tried to find it. I was like reaching inside this dude. I'm sorry, this is horrific. I'm reaching inside this dude, trying to find the alcohol, and I couldn't find it. He internalized it? I'm not sure where. I don't want to know where. But yeah, alcohol was gone. Alcohol was gone. So yeah, that happened. And the girls really make you feel good. It's really empowering. They really do like you. You know what I mean. The more time you spend in that club, the more empowering it is because they talk to you in a way that makes you feel empowered, that makes you feel important and cared about. I know there's that line from that comedy, you think strippers like you too. I don't care. I don't give a shit. This club makes you feel good. You understand why people like to go to clubs. When you go to this gentleman's club, you understand why. Beautiful people are treating you well. That's why you like it. So, we did that, and that was very empowering, and Lady Freya had wanted to do that. And Odin decided last night was lesson time. The part that I was so worried about last night is actually now a minor blip. There was an extremist who wrote about Odin that I used to follow the writings of that I no longer follow. If you want to follow him, you do you, but I do want to make a small caveat. I think it's important. Mental health is very important. In Voodoo, for example, if you are going to start working with the Loa, you have to, one, be in a house if you're going to try to do possession. Please don't try to do it on your own. And two, you have to be honest when you go into the house. If you have a mental condition, you have to say what it is. Do you have depression? Do you have anxiety? Are you schizophrenic? Because it can be very dangerous for a person that's not in the right headspace to be possessed. It's not a punishment against you. The Loa would still possess you, just to be perfectly clear. It's not a punishment against you. It's just that it can be a very psychologically heavy thing for even people in the best headspace. So it's not something they want to do to you if you're not there. And it's actually a very loving thing for them to do, to sit you on the sidelines and say, I know you don't feel like we're including you, but we really are. Loa don't care. They'll come down and ride you anyhow, and they can be rough with their horses. And if they're rough with you, you can get hurt, and we don't want you hurt. You're hurt enough now. Please don't try to attempt this. Now, some houses won't do that. Some houses will say, oh, you will be cured. So, you do you, but I think it's good that they have that in place because, we don't have anything in place in the pagan community. And we're very much a community of you do you. And unfortunately, there's a time where you do you starts to hurt you. because you may start to be affected by somebody else's teachings, as extreme as they are, in as much as you go, I don't know if I want to do that. There's a certain teacher, and well, they set themselves up as a teacher. I'm not. I'm a moron with a microphone. A kitten could do my job, probably learn more. And this teacher has always been extreme. They were extreme when I was first exposed to them a couple years ago. They've gotten steadily more extreme. Please understand the difference between, and I'm saying this as a person that's been on more drugs than any rock and roller. Please understand the difference between dealing with your mental illness and making an offering to the gods. If you're thinking about cutting, please get help. If you're thinking about self-mutilation, please get help. There are places for extremism, very rarely, in certain things, and they're usually tribal things that people appropriate. This is where we go into the spiel about why we don't appropriate things. A lot of what people use, they've appropriated from indigenous cultures, either in America or around the world. And the idea is that if we too go through this ordeal, we will learn what they learned. You won't. One of my hardest things about my walk with Papa Ogu is he is said to be the Loa in charge of scarification. And scarification includes a mutilation of women. And because there are places where they mutilate women because women aren't supposed to feel pleasure. That's a terrible thing, and a lot of people who serve Ogu fight passionately against it and say, this was a law made up by man. This has nothing to do with Ogu. You're saying it's Ogu because you're using iron, and that is the only reason you're saying Papa Ogu has something to do with it. So we have to be careful and educate ourselves. Please do not hang yourself up on meat hooks. Unless you're into S&M and you're in a dungeon, but again, that has nothing to do, a dungeon kink has nothing to do with serving our gods. It's nothing I'm judging people for, but a dungeon kink definitely is not some kind of ancient Norse, Germanic, English way to serve our gods. And to look down on people who won't do it is destructive, because there are people that are willing to do anything, even if it breaks them psychologically, to serve the gods. So please have common sense and discernment. And that's all I got to say, pretty much. Don't hurt yourself. If you want to do S&M, I don't judge you. Sexuality is healthy, but you go off and you do that separately and admit that that's just your kink, and that's fine, but it has nothing to do with serving the Allfather. Ever. And it was interesting, because I think he wanted me to learn that you have to admit when people are wrong for you. And you have to admit when people have set themselves up as the Grand Poobah and they are no longer wrong in their own mind and everything they say is right. And when we get extreme extremists, you know what I mean. There's extremist and then there's a flavor that you're like, what? When we get those people, they can be unhealthy in the community. And unfortunately, I've read or discussed some of that person's books on this channel before seeing how extreme they've gotten over the last couple of years. So I am very sorry. I hope I didn't hurt anybody. The end. So that's out of the way. And I've noticed something with having, I was going to say, okay, I'm so sorry, having Odin around. He will definitely push us to not be too permissive. And there is such a thing as being too permissive. I'm very you do you. I'm very non-confrontational, even though I tend to shout and lose my temper a lot. And I will sometimes tolerate a person because, have you ever seen people that they're so sweet on their YouTube channel or their Instagram or their Tumblrs or whatever? They're so sweet. And then they come onto your channel and they're the Joker on meth. And you're just trying to figure this out, and you're like, this can't be the same person, because this person's sweet as sunshine over here doing videos, and they're on my channel, and it's like, there's a crack addict on my channel, and I've known crack addicts, not bad people. They're not common sense people, but they're not bad people. And they will say stuff to you. And for a long time, I was putting up with it because I try to be very inclusive to you guys. And if I think somebody might benefit from being able to comment, I try to be as permissive as possible, even though sometimes it's why I grind my teeth. And last night in today's comments were, I was like, okay, I see your point. They made a joke about going off their medication. Don't do that to a person that was ever on Asphyxer. It kind of changes your entire world view of people making jokes. Asphyxer for me was living hell. I was hallucinating. I was crying. I can't watch the early videos on this channel because I was on Asphyxer at that time. I was suicidal multiple times a day. And the only thing that kept me from doing anything to myself was, one, I'm a coward, and two, latent Catholic guilt of throwing away the gift of God. That was the only two things that saved my life. And the Asphyxer was just driving me totally insane, and the doctor kept bumping it up and bumping it up and bumping it up. And it was a living nightmare. I couldn't get in communication with the gods, which no does not mean talking to the gods is crazy. It totally rewired my brain for a while. I would see shit that wasn't there. I was starting to talk to things I knew weren't there that I knew were hallucinations. And there's a difference between having a hallucination and talking to the gods, trust me. And because very bad people were attracted to you at your lowest points, I got in with some bad people. And they knew I was sick and they knew I was mentally ill, and they just fed into that. So I said lots of interesting shit at that time. So don't make off your medication jokes on this channel. And they've said a lot of other stuff too. It wasn't me being thin-skinned about a horrifying experience. They've said a lot of other stuff too over the last couple years. And they said something this morning. And I don't mind if we civilly disagree. But I do mind when I feel like I'm the bad guy more times than not. I don't try to be the bad guy, and if you really don't agree with me, why are you watching the channel? So, that's where I am. And also, I can see the person adopted more extremist beliefs than I do. I serve Odin, and I'm not as much an extremist. I serve Odin because I love him, and we actually had a really rough moment last night. Because I read the other extremists. There's a lot of extremists out there teachings. And it had to get that poison out of my system. So we did that. And I love Odin. I really do. And the first person to call him a rapist in my presence is going to get to feel this ring on the forehead. So I answered all that trauma. And it kind of pushes you to the place you need to be sometimes when you get to a very low point. So it sucked last night to have to go through that. It sucked to have all that stuff brought up, but it was very cleansing and healing because Odin's like, you're getting through this. And in Loki's defense, Loki's been trying all this time. Loki's been trying for years, going, you shouldn't read those books. Every time you do, your depression's worse, you're feeling anxiety. He was trying to talk to me the whole time I was on the Asphyxer, but it was like trying to hear a broken radio. And I had a deal last night of, do I think we're just all crazy? I think Asphyxer is the final solution. It's the thing they put you on when you can't go on anything else. It really is. And I'd rather see you on it and go through what I went through than see you harm yourself. But at the same time, I think had I elected for a nice padded room somewhere for 6 months, it would have benefited me greatly. It's not an easy ride. And my doctor totally did not provide any emotional support whatsoever. So I went through all that nightmare myself. And then I realized that I should have had a psychiatrist at the same time. I was on that stuff because you will have all these symptoms. And now people, the way doctors and psychiatrists handle psychiatry is, you'll do okay. No, you should be getting help. You should seriously be getting help. I should have been getting help. I was on a spectrum, but I didn't know any better. And I always am like, well, I'm too proud. So part of that was on me. Part of me that was on me. I've been to therapists and psychologists and psychiatrists before, but the one time I really needed one, I wouldn't go, and that was on me, and that was my foolish pride, and I was around. So there's that. Um, so Odin does push us to grow. Loki was trying, but Odin can give us that final push to say you don't have to embrace all the extremists. You don't have to embrace people that just like to antagonize you. And oh, that was my final talking point. I won't tolerate attacks on other religions because they're other religions. We all went through bad stuff at the hands of other people. We all went through terrible things. I was raised Roman Catholic back in the 80s, so my horror stories are probably a lot worse than yours, unless you have the ultimate horror story. I went through things that, as our religious training, you would call child abuse now, and I've said that. But it doesn't mean that I think all Christians or Catholics are wrong. They were doing what was handed down to them, and so forth and so on. From what I hear, the Catholic Church has really changed, thankfully. But I won't tolerate hate of a group. I won't tolerate hate of Christians. Most, as I said, are just trying to do what they do. And the person made a comment today. I'm sorry, I'm tired. They made a comment today, and I went and I checked the article again, and I'm like, okay, this person's just making a comment to rattle my cage. They have a tendency to do that. And I went and I read the original article, and basically this Christian and this atheist are just putting on a total shit show, and the rest of us should just watch and be like, And both of them are dragging, apparently, the gay community in the middle. And I was like, you know what? Fuck you both. I'm not listening to either one of you now. So that was where it went. And I'm not anyone's teacher. If you're at a undecided point in your life, I'm not your teacher. You're free to watch the videos, but I'm not your teacher. I can't force you to work with Loki or Odin. I can't force you to get some discipline. I can't force you to be a morally decent human being. I can't do anything of that. A teacher's job is not that. It's just to, and I'm not a teacher, but it's just to put instruction before you. What you do with that instruction is entirely up to you. It's just like being in school. If you choose to embrace it, and do something with it and ask questions, great. If you choose not to, that's on you. And I'm not going to publicly dissect why some people get banned and why some people don't, but my tolerance only goes so far. My tolerance only goes so far, and then I'm like, okay, you clearly need a teacher who's going to sit down with you and talk you through all this stuff. And as an actual actual gay person, member of the gay community. I am so goddamn tired from last night because it was an ordeal. It's not my job. If you're undecided, if you don't know where you are, that's fine. But I don't have a tolerance for trying to wait out to see. I've noticed with young people especially, and this isn't against young people, but they're still exploring, and sometimes they overshare. If today is you have embraced every label of the gay community day, I don't necessarily have to hear that, and I don't have to nod and agree with you. I am a lot of things, but I will never be a gay man. My inner man can be hella gay, but I will never biologically be a gay man. I will never be a gay person of color. I will never be agender. I will never be gender neutral. I will never be a whole fuck ton of labels. Just because I'm not running at 100% pansexual every day doesn't mean I'm not who I am. Just because I got rid of all the dudes in the club doesn't mean I'm not pansexual. I just wanted all the women to myself because I'm a bit aggressive, as we've all seen. So that was just good that he cleared some stuff up. So if you see a little stuff change, I'm not going to become an extremist. It was about getting the extremist out of my life. And if you think somebody's heading down a bad road, you don't necessarily have to walk down that bad road with them and be like, oh, okay. No, we don't have to. As a community, if someone comes to you, it's entirely up to you to try to steer them in the right direction. But if you've been trying for a while and you see they're still headed in the wrong direction, god damn it, I'm so tired. Let them go. They're gonna have to go in the wrong direction. They're gonna have to get hurt. We all had to do it once upon a time. So, that's all I got to say today. I am so tired, guys. I'm sorry. The last night we were up to about midnight with the club, but then we were up to about 3 in the morning trying to talk through the ordeal on the microphone. And I got up super early, so yeah, I've had almost no sleep. So I'm sorry, I'm tired. I know I probably stumbled through the whole thing, but I thought it was important to do. So if you like what you see, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you later. Bye-bye.